Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So it's that time again to take a look at the biggest changes coming to the next patch, and we also have a new teaser that we're going to take a quick look at. And as per usual, this video is going to be made in collaboration with ProGuides. It's a website that tries to improve your overall League of Legends gameplay and knowledge, especially with the season ending. The link is down below, boys and girls, definitely check it out, and hopefully it can help you hit the rank that you're aiming for by the end of the season. Alright guys, so the first thing we'll be taking a look at is going to be a very quick teaser that League of Legends, or Riot, has released on their Instagram and Twitter. It is a very quick teaser, only about 10 seconds long, and it's of an egg, apparently a dragon egg, and you hear a voice talking in the background. Now, what this voice or whose this voice is not 100%. There are a lot of people assuming that it might be Kled. So the best assumption at the moment is that maybe we'll be getting something like a Dragon Trainer Kled special skin or epic or legendary skin or something like that in the next patch, but of course nothing is confirmed. But make sure to let me know down below in the comments, what do you think this teaser is for? What exactly is it teasing us? But the next thing I want to talk about quickly is going to be the next patch, being the final Worlds patch. There's going to be not only a bunch of changes for Worlds gameplay, but also just events regarding this whole thing as well. So for instance, to start things off, we have a very sexy new championship Khazix skin. Now this skin itself is already quite nice. I mean, it has a great looking kind of a loading screen border and all that stuff, but the best part are the chromos, believe it or not, because there are a lot of chromos for like pretty much every single team. So you can definitely tell that Riot put in some extra work making this championship skin compared to the other ones especially, so I think it's pretty cool and I hope you guys will like it. But speaking of chromas, this is also pretty cool. All the previous championship skins, so Championship Kalista, Thresh, Zed, Shyvana, and Riven, all now have a new golden chroma. So essentially it's them in that skin, but everything around them and the actual colors of the skin are all golden, and it looks super sexy, especially the Zed one. And of course, on top of all of this, also to celebrate the Worlds event, there are going to be new ward skins, new summoner icons, and the part I'm sure we all care most about, there are going to be new loot assets. There's going to be a Worlds 2018 orb and a Worlds 2018 token. So if you guys want me to make another $100 opening of these new kind of Worlds orbs, then let me know by hitting the like button on the video or leaving a comment. But now let's get into the actual buffs and nerfs coming over to the champions, with the first one being Darius. Now Darius, believe it or not, is actually getting a buff, and the first of which is going to be towards his W Crippling Strike, where the bonus physical damage is being increased by 10% at every single rank. But it doesn't stop there, because moving on to his E ability Apprehend, the armor penetration on this has also been increased by 5% at every single rank. So honestly, some pretty decent buffs coming over to Darius, a champion that I personally don't even think really needs these buffs, but maybe Riot wants to see him at Worlds, and well, there we have it. Now Darius is going to be probably one of the best top laners in the game. Next, we have some buffs coming over to a champion that probably could actually use some of the help, because we haven't seen her in so long, and it's going to be Elise. The buff is going to be towards her E ability Inspire from Repel, where the cooldown on this ability has been lowered by 4 seconds at rank 1, and then as you rank it up, it'll actually even out to 18 seconds at rank 5, so a lot better at the earlier levels, but the same at level 5. Now this buff isn't as great as it seems initially. Now in the first few levels of the game it's pretty good, but usually I believe Elise players actually max their E second, because the duration of the cocoon does increase as you level up the ability. So it's gonna even out to, you know, the normal 18 seconds pretty quickly in the game, but at least in the early parts of the game, where Elise usually does shine quite well, you'll have a little bit of an extra advantage. Next up, we have some buffs coming over to Fiora, more towards her passive, Duelist's Dance. The healing on this ability has been increased overall, so now it starts at 40 and goes all the way up to 125, rather than only starting at 30 and only going up to 115. Not the biggest thing in the entire world, but if you actually proc it fairly often in the laning phase, that extra 10 HP, even at level 1, it's gonna stack up pretty quickly, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, so it's gonna add up very, very fast. So even though initially it may not seem like the biggest thing in the world, if you're a good Fiora player and you proc those passes often, you can actually make this buff seem quite significant. Next, we have some quick changes coming over to Janna as well, towards her passive as well. The bonus movement speed conversion to damage has been changed from being 15%, 25%, and 35% at levels 1, 7, and 13 to now only giving you extra damage at levels 1 and 10, being 25% at level 1 and 35% at level 10. Overall, I would actually say this is probably a buff, because this is definitely a little bit better in the laning phase. There is going to be the levels from, 7 to 10 where it is going to be a little bit of a nerf, but once you hit level 10, you'll get that 35% a little bit faster than usual, which is also a little bit of a buff. So it just depends on which part of the game you're looking at, but overall, I believe it is a buff. Following Janna, we also have some buffs coming over to yet another jungler, that being Khazix. Now, of course, with Khazix's championship skin coming out, Riot has to give in some buffs so that people get the skin. I mean, it's only natural. So the buff is going to be towards his W voice spike, where the evolved spike racks, the slow potency on this ability has been increased by 20%, and the isolated target slow potency has also been increased by 10%. So not the biggest buffs in the entire world, his damage is still very much the same. It's just now, especially for Worlds, since in competitive gameplay evolving his W is a very common trend, his W will just be overall a lot more useful. Next, we also have some quick buffs coming over to Kog'Maw, another AD carry that we don't really see too often, but if you see him in the right hands, especially with the right support, my goodness, is he damn strong. So the buff is as follows. The movement speed has been increased for him by 5, which isn't that much, but on someone that relies solely on their positioning, it's not too bad. And living artillery, which is his ultimate, the range on this ability has been also increased. Now you'll see it's only increased at level 1 and a level 2 by rank 3. It's the same being 1800. Now Kog'Maw is definitely a champion that you have to be very, very careful with how you buff, because if he's over buffed, then he is disgustingly overpowered. So this is a nice little step forward, you know, give him some nice little buffs here and there, but not too much to where he will be overpowered. Next up, we also have some changes coming over to Nunu and Willump. Starting things off with his Q ability, the monster and minions AP ratio has been increased by 10%. However, the champion healing AP ratio has actually been lowered by 15%. This will actually make him a little bit even better in the jungle, since he now heals more off of minions and monsters, but of course when using it on champions, the heal won't be as just rewarding. And to be completely honest with you, this change and I guess nerf for his Q does make sense overall, but it doesn't stop there, because as we move on to his E ability, Snowball Barrage, you'll see here that the Snowball's AP ratio has been increased by a solid 1%, and Willump's turn AP ratio has been increased by 30%. This is actually a pretty decent buff on his E ability, because that 30% increase on the AoE, where Willump essentially roots every single person that did get hit by the Snowball, that's a decent amount of extra damage. So I'm hoping that this won't make this champion a little bit too overpowered, because you never really know with these kind of changes. But speaking of questionable changes, one that I'm personally not complaining about because I play Pike all the time, Pike is actually getting some buffs towards his ultimate. The execute damage has been changed from, you can now see, starting at 250 rather than starting at 200, but it still ramps up to a max of 605. So you don't need me to tell you that this is going to make his laning phase and his level 6 and even just a tad over level 6 a lot more powerful, and in the laning phase a lot more deadly. 50 HP, especially at that early part of the game, is a decent amount, man. That's a solid auto attack, maybe even an auto attack and a half from the AD carry, which is a lot. So this is a little bit on the questionable side for sure. I think Pike is going to be disgustingly strong next patch, so that's a champion you definitely want to watch out for, but it's going to be very fun to watch him at Worlds. But speaking of a champion that's also very fun to watch at Worlds, we have a buff coming over to Thresh, and it's going to be towards his Q ability, where the cost has been lowered by 20, so now the players in Worlds can just spam this a lot more often. Even if they miss it, you know what, it's not as bad anymore, because on top of this, the cooldown has also been lowered at the earlier ranks of the ability, so expect some quite aggressive Thresh plays in the earlier parts of the game. Because as you see, by rank 5, the cooldown is going to be 12 seconds, which is the exact same as it currently is on the live servers, so just a buff to the earlier parts of Q. Next up, we have an overall buff coming to an item, which is of course going to be Liandry's Torment. Now the AP overall has been actually lowered by 5, now only offering you 75. But like I said, it is an overall buff, so as we look on towards the passive called Torment, you can see here the max health as bonus damage has been increased from 1% to 1.5%, and the burn damage has been changed from double, which used to be 1% times 2, of course, is 2%, to now being 2.5%. So in other words, this item gives you a little bit of, less front just raw AP, but it does do a little bit more effectiveness now against actual tanky champions, which is really what the purpose of this item even is to begin with. This item is going to be a lot more situational now, but when you do get it and against tanks, it's going to be much better. Alright guys, so that's going to be about it for this video. There you have it, a bunch of new massive changes. Make sure to let me know down below what you think the new teaser is going to be for and what champion it is and all that good stuff. Don't forget to let me know if you want me to do a video opening up $100 worth of the new world's orbs and all that stuff too. And also let me know what you think about the new skins, the changes, who you're excited for in worlds, which team you're rooting for, and everything of the sort. And for next patch, you definitely are going to want to watch out for Darius. You want to watch out for Fiora, Janna in the laning phase as well, and potentially Nunu and Pike as well. Those guys are looking pretty damn strong. But thank you all so much for watching the video, boys and girls. If you did enjoy it, then definitely hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Check out my other videos as well. And hopefully, I'll see you here again for my next video tomorrow. So until then, have a great day. Peace.